I woke from a coma to my brother's text, "Thanks for the apartment. Mom said you'd want me to have it." I'd been unconscious for 2 weeks. They'd already sold my furniture. What they didn't know, my security cameras were still recording. The first thing I noticed wasn't the beeping machines or the fourth in my arm. It was my phone, face down on the hospital bedside table, practically vibrating itself off the edge with notifications. 2 weeks of messages, the nurse told me. 2 weeks since the semi ran the red light and T-boned my Civic. 2 weeks of medically induced coma while my brain swelling went down. 2 weeks for my family to show their true colors. My hands shook as I scrolled through the texts. Most were from friends, coworkers, my boss checking in, but it was my brother Dylan's messages that made my blood run cold. Day 3. Hey sis, using your apartment to crash closer to work? Hope that's cool. Day 5. Your couch is way better than mine. Mind if I swap them? Day 8. Thanks for the apartment. Mom said you want me to have it. Day 11. Sold your bedroom set. Hospital bills are expensive. Figured you'd need the cash. Day 14. My stuff's all moved in now. When you get out, Mom's setting up the basement for you. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. The basement. My mother's moldy, unfinished basement where she stored Christmas decorations and Dad's old golf clubs. That's where they planned to put me after stealing my apartment. Natalie, Dr. Martinez entered with a warm smile. So good to see you awake. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck, I croaked, then managed a weak smile. Because I did. She laughed softly. Your sense of humor survived intact. That's excellent. Now let's discuss your recovery. But I was only half listening. My mind raced through the implications. My apartment, my beautiful apartment in Lincoln Park that I'd saved 5 years to afford the down payment on. The exposed brick walls, the vintage hardwood floors, the clawfoot tub I'd refinished myself. Dylan had always made snide comments about how it was too nice for a single woman. How I was showing off by living alone in such a good neighborhood. And Mom, God, my mother, who'd spent my entire childhood telling people Dylan was the smart one while I was pretty enough to marry well. Who'd push me to give him my car in high school because boys need independence. Who'd suggest that Echo sign his student loans because family helps family. The same mom who apparently decided I wouldn't need my own home anymore. Because what? Coma patients don't require dignity. Discharge in about a week, Dr. Martinez was saying. You'll need physical therapy, but your cognitive functions seem perfectly intact. You're very lucky. Lucky, right. After she left, I called my best friend Emma. She answered on the first ring. Nat? Oh my God, you're awake. I've been so worried. Emma, I need you to do something for me. Go to my apartment. Check if Dylan's actually there. What? Why would Dylan? She paused. Oh no, what did they do? 20 minutes later, she called back. I could hear traffic in the background. I'm outside your building. There's a moving truck. Nat, they're taking your kitchen table out right now. The one you refinished last summer. Is Dylan there? Yeah, he's directing the movers. Want me to confront him? No. Just watch. Document everything if you can. On it. I hung up and opened my laptop, grateful I'd had it with me during the accident. My hands trembled as I logged into my security system. I'd installed cameras after a break-in scare last year. Nothing fancy, just basic coverage of the entry points and main living spaces. Dylan knew about them, but apparently thought they were as unconscious as I'd been. The footage loaded, and I watched my life being dismantled in time-lapse. Day 1. Mom entering with my spare key, walking through the apartment like she was appraising it. Opening closets, checking the water pressure, testing the appliances. Day 2. Dylan arriving with a suitcase, Mom handing him keys. Keys she must have had copied. Day 3. The two of them going through my closet, Mom holding up dresses and saying something that made Dylan laugh. Based on the dress she was holding, my interview outfit, I could guess the punchline. Day 5. Dylan and 2 buddies swapping my leather couch for his ratty futon. They struggled with the doorway, scratching my walls in the process. Day 7. Mom directing a different set of movers as they packed up my books, my art, my grandmother's china. I watched her wrap my things with the same care she'd shown when packing up my dorm room. Which is to say, none. Day 9. Dylan hosting a party. Beer bottles on my handmade coffee table. Some girl throwing up in my bathroom. His friends playing darts on my wall. My actual wall, not a dartboard. Day 12. A stranger touring the apartment with Dylan. Money changing hands. My bedroom furniture being disassembled. Day 14. Dylan hanging his neon beer signs where my photography had been. The apartment I carefully curated turned into a fraternity house. But here's the thing about my security system. It backed up to the cloud. Every minute of footage, saved and timestamped. Evidence. I call my lawyer. Yes, I had a lawyer, hired after the accident to deal with insurance. Margaret Winters was 65, sharp as a surgical knife, and took absolutely zero shit from anyone. They did what? Her voice could have frozen hellfire. Please tell me you have documentation. 14 days of security footage. Christmas came early. Send me everything. And Natalie? Don't contact them yet. Let them think you're still foggy from the coma. The next 3 days were torture. Emma kept me updated while I played confused patient for the steady stream of doctors and nurses. Mom visited once, bringing grocery store flowers and a performance worthy of community theater. Oh, sweetheart, she cooed, smoothing my hair. You gave us such a scare. Don't worry about anything, okay? Dylan and I have handled everything. You just focus on getting better. My apartment. I mumbled, playing groggy. Shit, don't worry about that. We've taken care of it. You'll be so comfortable in the basement once it's fixed up. Dylan even said he'd help paint it whatever color you want. How generous. My brother would help paint my mother's basement after stealing my home. The doctors say you might be confused for a while, she continued. Head injuries can affect memory. You might not remember things correctly. Ah, there it was. The gaslighting groundwork. If I protested, I was brain damaged. If I complained, I was confused. If I fought back, I clearly needed more help than they thought. Tired, I whispered, closing my eyes. She patted my hand. Of course, dear. Oh, I almost forgot. Dylan wanted me to ask, do you remember where you put your passport? He's planning a trip and thought he might use your airline miles since he won't be traveling anytime soon. The audacity was breathtaking. I kept my eyes closed, fiending sleep, while she rummaged through my hospital room belongings. Margaret worked fast. By day 4, she had everything lined up. Theft charges for the furniture, breaking and entering. Turns out making unauthorized copies of keys counts. Fraud for Dylan representing himself as the apartment owner. Elder abuse charges for Mom, since technically I was in a vulnerable state when they robbed me. The security footage is damning, she told me. But I need to warn you, pressing charges will go nuclear on your family relationships. What relationships? I laughed bitterly. The one where my mother planned to stuff me in a basement while I was comatose. Or the one where my brother threw parties in my home while I was fighting for my life. Fair point. One more thing, your apartment building has security footage too. I've subpoenaed it. Thought you'd want to know that Dylan's been telling people you gave him the apartment because you were probably going to die anyway. Multiple witnesses heard him at a bar bragging about his inheritance. He thought I was dying, and his first instinct was to take my home. Well, he's about to learn that rumors of your death were greatly exaggerated and extremely expensive for him. I was discharged on a Thursday. Margaret had arranged everything. Police would meet us at the apartment for the formal eviction. A locksmith would change the locks. Movers would retrieve anything of mine from Mom's storage unit. Emma picked me up, armed with coffee and righteous fury. I've documented everything. Your neighbor Mrs. Chen is devastated. She thought Dylan was house-sitting. She's been feeding your plants because she didn't trust him to remember. Mrs. Chen is a treasure. She also recorded Dylan telling someone on the phone that the vegetable wouldn't need the apartment anymore. She's happy to testify. The drive to Lincoln Park was surreal. The city looked the same, but I felt like I'd slipped into an alternate universe where family meant target instead of safety net. We arrived to find Dylan's car in my spot, a Dylan's Pace vanity plate freshly screwed on, because of course. Margaret met us at the entrance with 2 police officers. Ready? Worn ready. The knock on my own door was surreal. Dylan answered in his boxer's Xbox controller in hand. His face went through an impressive journey. Annoyance to confusion to recognition to panic. Nat. But you're, Mom said. Not dead. Not a vegetable. Not conveniently out of the way. I stepped past him into my violated space. Beer cans everywhere. Burn marks on my coffee table. My walls, once carefully painted in subtle grays, now sporting holes from the dartboard and what looked like a punched wall. I don't understand, he stammered. Mom said you wanted me to have it. That you told her before the accident. I was in a coma, Dylan. Kind of hard to want anything when you're unconscious. The officers stepped forward. Dylan Peters, you're being served with an eviction notice. You have 1 hour to remove your personal belongings. This is insane. Nat, tell them. We're family. We were family, I corrected. Until you decided I was better off dead and my apartment was better off yours. Margaret handed him the restraining order. You're also prohibited from contacting Miss Peters for coming within 500 feet of this property. You're seriously throwing me out? Where am I supposed to go? Mom's basement is available, I suggested. She set it up so nicely for me. His face went red. This is bullshit. You're going to regret this. Mom's going to be busy with her own legal troubles, Margaret interrupted. Turns out stealing from incapacitated family members is frowned upon by the courts. The next hour was glorious chaos. Dylan tried calling Mom, but she was presumably being served her own papers. He threw whatever he could grab into garbage bags, muttering about ungrateful sisters and family betrayal. My couch? He protested as the officers blocked him from taking it. You mean my couch that you stole? I asked sweetly. The one I have receipts for. That couch? After he left, I surveyed the damage. It was extensive but fixable. What wasn't fixable was the fundamental breach of trust. While I'd been fighting to survive, my family had been dividing the spoils. My phone rang. "Mom, how dare you?" she shrieked, having me arrested at my book club. "Do you have any idea how humiliating?" "Not as humiliating as finding out your family robbed you while you were in a coma," I interrupted. "We were helping. That apartment was too much for you anyway, and Dylan needed to get his own apartment, with his own money, from his own job. Family helps family. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't plan basement accommodations for accident victims. Family doesn't sell someone's belongings while they're unconscious." "You're being dramatic. A basement apartment would have been perfectly adequate. I've owned a condo, Mother. I have a career, a life, a home I paid for myself. The fact that you looked at all that and saw something to give Dylan says everything about how you see me. I see an ungrateful daughter." Whoa. I hung up. The legal proceedings took months. Dylan tried to fight the eviction until Margaret produced the security footage of him telling his friends I was basically dead anyway. Mom's lawyer argued that she was just trying to help until we showed the footage of her methodically cataloging my belongings for sale. They both ended up with criminal records. Dylan got probation and restitution. Mom got community service and a hefty fine. The family imploded. Relatives chose sides. Holiday invitations were revoked. Facebook became a war zone. I renovated the apartment, erasing every trace of Dylan's brief occupation. The walls were repaired and repainted. The hardwood floors were refinished. I bought a new couch, leather, expensive. And most importantly, mine. 6 months after waking from the coma, I hosted a housewarming party. Emma came, of course. Mrs. Chen brought homemade dumplings. Colleagues from work, friends from physical therapy, even Dr. Martinez stopped by. My chosen family, filling my reclaimed space with actual love. "No family?" Mrs. Chen asked gently, looking at the happy crowd. "All family," I corrected, gesturing at the room. "Just the kind you choose, not the kind you're stuck with." The security cameras are still there, upgraded now. Not because I'm afraid of break-ins, but because I've learned that sometimes the biggest breaths come from the people who are supposed to love you most. Dylan texts occasionally, usually when he needs money. Mom sends guilt-laden birthday cards about forgiveness and moving forward. I don't respond. Some bridges, once burned by the people who were supposed to help you cross them, aren't worth rebuilding. My apartment is beautiful now. The exposed brick glows in the evening light. The vintage hardwood tells stories under bare feet. The clawfoot tub hosts long soaks after physical therapy sessions. It's everything I worked for, everything I almost lost, everything they tried to take. And in the corner, where Dylan's dartboard scored the wall, hangs a framed photo from my housewarming party. All of us laughing, champagne raised, surrounded by the people who showed up when it mattered. The family I chose. The family that waited for me to wake up instead of dividing my life like leftovers. That's the thing about security cameras. They show you who people really are when they think nobody's watching. And sometimes, that's the most valuable footage of all.